Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am here with another one of my kind of health slash informational slash whatever type of videos. I've had a lot of requests for this video actually in the past when I've talked about things like my diet and health as it relates to skin. So today I want to talk about how to address like the internal issues that may be making your skin break out or making it sensitive or making it just kind of like freak out randomly and you don't know why. As I've said before, the skin is actually a part of your immune system and it's basically like a warning indicator. So when something is amiss on the inside of your body, that is when you get things happening on the outside of your skin, like acne, like allergic reactions, hives, things like that. Common sense will tell us that the way that we influence what's going on the inside of our body is by what we put inside of it. So it's really important to remember that everything you put inside your body counts. I remember this point in my life, I was probably like 19 years old. Somebody explained to me something about nutrition in a way that just made it click so clearly to me. And they were talking about almonds and how just like a handful of almonds, like 5 to 7 almonds, can give you energy, can help your brain work better, can get your blood sugar up. And I just thought, like, really? Like a tiny little handful of almonds can influence all these functions in my body and make me feel almost instantly better if I'm like super hungry or overworked or anything like that. And I just started thinking, wow, think about all the little things that I put in my body without even really thinking about it. Things like sugar, things like chemicals, you know, stuff like that that you don't even really think about because they're just part of our everyday routines. If good nutrients can affect our bodies so directly, what are all of the bad things and the toxins and the chemicals, what are all of those doing to our bodies that we aren't necessarily seeing right away? Now, generally the best diet is what we think about as the foods that can be found on the outer perimeters of the grocery store. So things like in the produce section, things in the meat section, which is usually in the back. But it's just a good rule of thumb. A lot of the things on the inside aisles of the grocery store, things like cereal, things like ice cream, things like granola bars, things like, you know, whatever it is, all those packaged foods, those things are not actually very healthy for us. My basic rule is if it doesn't walk around or grow out of the ground, it's not food. Things that are like artificial dyes, artificial chemicals, weed killers, you know, pesticides, all of that stuff, those things are not food. And when we eat food that contains those things, that is doing our bodies harm. And it's harm that may not catch up with us for years or even decades, but it is pretty serious, although it is invisible. Now, as part of a healthier diet or like moving toward a healthier diet, a lot of people will go so far as to also cut out animal products. So like meat, dairy, things like that. I don't tend to think that that's necessary for everybody. I eat some animal products. I eat meat, but it's always organic. So, you know, I kind of do animal products in moderation, but I think that you should always go for organic because the conventionally raised livestock animals that are used for like butchering and for making dairy products are just, they're not treated well. They are fed hormones and things that are really not good for them, and they're not good for us either. For me, the biggest thing that I did to change my diet a few years ago, which actually stemmed from a mission that I was on to fix a skincare or skin issue that I was having, the big things that I did were first to cut out gluten and dairy completely. And these changed my life in such profound ways that I can't, I mean, I just tell everyone that I get a chance to tell, because if someone is ever suffering in the ways that I was suffering, I just hope that they can find something that works. And if this is the thing that works for them, I want to give them that knowledge, that information, that experience. So for me, I was having symptoms like skin issues. I was having breakouts. Like I had a lot of texture on my forehead and I would have breakouts quite often. But the biggest thing, and I've talked about this before, the biggest thing that really just drove me hard to find a solution was that my underarms started reacting and getting inflamed, and they just went crazy, and I couldn't figure out why. The doctors couldn't figure out why. I was taking all these steroids to try and make it go away. It wasn't doing anything. I was taking these $300 ointment creams and putting them on my skin that also had steroids in them, which was really, really bad for my body, and I didn't know it at the time. I was on prednisone, which if you guys have ever taken prednisone, I hope that you never have to, because it's really awful stuff. At least for me it was. It gave me sleep paralysis, which is when you are like, I think it's like you're in a stage between waking and sleeping, but you're paralyzed and you can't move, but you're aware of where you are. And for me, when that would happen, I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, and then literally demons would come and sit on my bed and like touch my leg or like touch my arm. And I couldn't move, I couldn't scream. It was absolutely terrifying, and I never want to experience that again. And honestly, I haven't had it happen since I took prednisone and since I stopped taking it. So I will never take that stuff again. I know that doesn't happen to everybody, but it does happen to a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of other people say the same thing. But not only that, it actually worsened my skin problem, because what it did was tear my immune system down on the inside of my body. I would be really curious to know if anybody has had a similar experience with their skin, but basically what happened was my skin, first, it was, like I said, pretty much only in my underarms here, and then when it got really bad and out of hand, it spread all the way over like my upper body and my trunk, my back, my like neck, chest area. It was all over the place. So first it would start out really itchy and red. It would do that for a little while, and I'd scratch at it because it was the worst itch ever. It was like a compulsion. I could not help scratching it. It was so awful. And then it would like leak this clear liquid, and it would be so uncomfortable. My skin would stick to my clothes. It was awful. It was like something from like a horror movie. I don't even know. So it would do that for a day or two, and then the next day it would dry out, and all of the skin there would peel off in sheets, like sheets of skin, like a snake shedding its skin or something. It was so painful, because after that it would crack and bleed because it was so dry. I had to have Taylor bandage up my skin every single day when it was happening, because it was just out of control. I couldn't do anything. Eventually, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I did a ton of my own research after all the doctors were like, I have no idea what's going on with your skin. And I decided to try diet changes and to heal my body from the inside in order to make it happier on the outside. So I ended up cutting out gluten and dairy completely from my diet, and that made a huge difference in my life. Not only did my skin improve, but it also took care of symptoms that I didn't expect it to, like my chronic pain, chronic fatigue, certain aspects of my anxiety. It actually helped, because everything in your body is connected, and when you heal one part of your body, it's going to fix a lot of things that were caused by that part of your body being upset. It turned out to actually be a sensitivity or an allergy to polyester, which I had worn my whole life with no problem, but suddenly I've developed an allergy to it. But the inside of my body was so just like nervous about it, and it was so on alert for any kind of contact with polyester. It was on such high alert for that it was overreacting. So it was almost like an autoimmune reaction where it thinks something is dangerous, so it kind of destroys your body in an effort to reject that thing. And once I changed my diet, and I had a good diet for a long time, a few months, it actually started to calm down. It started not to be so reactive, although my skin does get itchy and will react like that if I wear polyester, but it's minute in comparison to what the reaction was before. So I'm so thankful for that, and I feel so encouraged that it was something that I had control over. I can't even imagine where I would be right now if I had not done that and I was still suffering with the skin problems that I was having. But eventually, a few months, maybe even a year later after this whole thing started, and I decided to take it a step further after some more research, and I decided to actually cut out sugar. So for 30 days, I cut out all sugar besides fruit. So I wasn't eating even natural sugars like honey or syrup, like maple syrup, real maple syrup, which I actually think are okay and generally good for your body in moderation. But I cut those out, along with and especially all processed sugars. If you guys are ever curious about sugar and what it does to your body, watch Fed Up. I think it's on Netflix, and it has caused me to really take a step back and look at my diet. But I would be hard pressed to believe that if you cut out those three things, or even two of the three, or tried one at a time, that your skin wouldn't clear up and have a lot better time and look a lot healthier and feel a lot better. Other things to cut out or to consider cutting out are basically any processed foods whatsoever, anything that comes in a box or a package, or are in those middle aisles in the grocery store. Everything like artificial dyes, even artificial vitamins, like synthesized vitamins where like your cereal or your milk says like fortified with vitamin D. So those are places to look and to try to investigate and experiment with in order to find out what works for you, because everybody is a little bit different, but I can tell you that eating toxins is not healthy for anybody. Now, I've had a lot of requests to also talk about like how I changed my diet, and I remember when I first went dairy and gluten-free, it was so hard because I didn't know what to expect and I hadn't really prepared myself very well. I remember walking around our apartment just crying, like all day long, just walking around and crying and going to the fridge and opening it, realizing there was nothing I could eat in there, taking a lap around the apartment, crying again, and trying and opening the fridge again. It was just so pathetic and so sad, and I went through a few days of that, and I finally realized that I'm just gonna have to rise to the occasion and take matters into my own hands and really adapt to this new lifestyle, otherwise I'm gonna starve. So I really became good at taking recipes and tweaking them and adapting them to be dairy and gluten-free. I find it's so easy now to do so. I've done it with tons of recipes that I used to always use and just made them so that they suited my diet, and they taste just as good and sometimes better. So it's actually kind of fun to experiment with things like that. It's a fun challenge as long as you're not hungry when you're trying to figure it out, because that is very frustrating. Some examples of things that I really like and that are like my go-tos, I'll just do kind of like a day in the life, like what I might eat in a day. When I have time and when I plan ahead, and I do a really good job of that, I will make myself a fruit smoothie in the morning. So I will do a frozen banana, some coconut milk, some frozen fruit, which I buy in bulk from Costco. I've always got frozen fruit in the freezer. And I will also do some veggies, which can vary depending on what I have. What I'll typically do is take like a whole head of kale or a whole box of spinach, or even like dandelion greens or anything like that that's really dense leafy green that you know has just a crap ton of vitamins in it, and I will shove it all into my blender with a little bit of water and just liquefy it. So that way you're getting the fiber and you're also getting the nutrients, you're getting the whole plant in your smoothie. And what I do is I pour that into an ice tray and I will freeze that into little cubes, put those in a plastic bag, and that is ready to go for smoothies. So I'll grab like 1 or 2 of those a day for my smoothie and stick that in. You cannot even taste it. It's amazing. If I want more of like a protein smoothie, I'll do like a banana and some cocoa powder and then some peanut butter with coconut milk, and it's really good. And that fills you up, it gives you a ton of nutrients, and it's really good way to start your day. I have heard that you really only get all the nutrients in your food if you chew your food, and obviously with a smoothie you're not chewing. So in my mind, I can kind of get around that by eating something that you do chew along with my smoothie, because when you chew your food, it actually preps the rest of your digestive system to absorb those nutrients and really take advantage of the good things that you're eating. So I will eat like a handful of almonds or some other kind of nut or a piece of toast or like something small, but that you do have to chew with my smoothie, and in my mind that helps my body absorb the nutrients. I'm not sure how scientific that is, but it makes sense to me. And then for lunch I will often have a salad. I like to do like arugula or rocket, avocados, nuts. Sometimes I'll make like a vinaigrette dressing at home from scratch so I know exactly what's in it. Goat cheese, things like strawberries, cucumbers, anything you have on hand and want to throw in your salad. It's really good, especially the more like added add-ons, toppings, whatever. The more of those that you put in your salad, the more exciting the salad is. And then a good thing to go along with that is some avocado toast. So I will spread avocado on some gluten-free toast, and then I'll put some tomato slices over the top and cover it with salt and pepper, and it is so good and so healthy for you. For things like dinners and larger meals, the sky's really the limit because there's so many vegetable meat combinations that you can do that are so healthy and so good. But I'll do something typically like a cauliflower soup, which I make out of cauliflower and some chicken broth and potatoes and onions and garlic and spices, and I'll take an immersion blender and just turn that into like a soup, and it is so good. My husband, who's not technically dairy or gluten-free, loves that soup. It's so yummy and it's so comforting and warm in the wintertime. Oh, I just want it right now. Maybe some vegetables and hummus, or you know, something like that, something else like kind of snacky to go along with it, just because you may not be full from the soup. It takes a little bit more to fill you up if you're eating mostly vegetables, but it's calories that are actually very dense with nutrients, so it's actually a lot better for you. And throughout the day, it's good to have snacks, especially if you feel like you get low blood sugar throughout the day, things like nuts are really, really good because they give you that energy with all the protein and the fat that they have in them. Things like apples with goat cheese I will eat all the time, or apples with peanut butter, or bananas with peanut butter. I even like to have chocolate with peanut butter for a snack quite often. Or you could do like almond butter or any kind of nut butter situation. I always recommend organic, especially if it's peanuts. And for the chocolate, I make sure that it is very, very dark chocolate so that it doesn't have too much sugar and it doesn't have any dairy in it. So I'm gonna link down below the video that I did most recently, which mentioned this whole idea of like your skin being a reflection of what is happening on the inside of your body. So I will link that down below because it's very, very interrelated with this video, and it's information that you guys tend to really find valuable and really, really enjoy. So I'm happy to continue sharing my experience with you guys, and let me know your thoughts and ideas or questions down below because this is something that I'm very passionate about, obviously, and I love talking to people about it because if there's any way that my experience can help you guys or help somebody out there, that will just totally make my day. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have not subscribed already, I would love to have you do so and join the family. I have the best viewers on the internet, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!